Hi there, welcome to the second video in the Pricing for Profit series. So if you haven't met before, I'm Sonia, founder of the Balloon Biz Academy. And I am running a series of videos to enable you to work out a better system for pricing for profit in your business. And this is video number 2. So if you haven't done already, there is a previous video for you to watch where I talk through why you need to be pricing for profit, and I show you a quick and easy way of doing it. This video is a follow-up to that, and it's something that often happens when people start working out their prices properly for the first time. So they work out their pricing and then they take a look at their pricing and they go, oh my God, that seems so high. Can that be right? I haven't been charging anywhere near that. And will people pay for that? And then the next thing that usually happens at that point is they go, I need to see what everyone else is doing. Am I anywhere near the mark? Have I got it right? Have I done my calculations right? And they look around at the competition to see what everyone else is charging. Now, the problem with this is in this industry currently, a huge number of businesses are not charging correctly. And that has a huge impact on your ability to run a profitable and sustainable business. That means that in 12 months' time, you won't be folding up and going back to your 9-to-5 job. But we discussed all that in the previous video. So go and watch that. This video is purely focusing on the reasons why, and there are a few reasons why actually the prices that you come up with may be far higher than you're expecting. And I'm going to run through those now and what you can do about it. So there are usually 3 reasons why your prices may be higher. 2 of them are to do with the calculation and 1 of them is to do with the marketplace. So the first one is that you are paying way too much for your supplies. So it's usually direct costs part of the equation where this really impacts the most. So it may well be that when you first start, if you're first starting out, you're buying lots of stock from, Amazon, eBay, or you're buying off some of the wholesalers, but you're buying as an independent customer rather than as a trade account. People also tend to pay a huge amount of helium when they first start out because they don't understand that you can shop around for your helium. So for my helium, I actually purchased my helium from I'm down in Kent in the southeast, and I purchased my helium from a company up north, and I from Northwest Greetings, and then I actually pick up my helium from the Bock depot at Strood, which is local to me. So I arrange all the purchase through the company, which has got to be a good 200 and odd miles away from me, but I collect it locally. And that saves me a huge amount. And I shop around for my helium. I will ring around and see what the best price I can get. Now, one of the things I would say is that you can usually get a good price from a wholesaler that you purchase your supplies from, because wholesalers like to look after regular customers. So if you're going to get a good price from a wholesaler, you really should then be making sure you're ordering lots of stock through them. And in the years gone by, when we've had problems with the helium shortages, stock shortages, wholesalers look after their best customers first because they don't want them going elsewhere. So it's a two-way relationship with wholesalers. What I would say is when you're looking at your supply costs, don't compromise on quality. It's a false economy. If you buy cheap balloons, you're going to go through twice as many. You're going to have lots of problems with disappointed customers. It's going to take up your time. Time is valuable. You need to be using professional grade balloons in your designs, because at the end of the day, it's your credibility with your customers, And lots of small business work comes through word of mouth and what people say about your business. So don't compromise on quality, but definitely make sure that you're purchasing from a wholesaler. Buy professional helium. Don't buy these cheap canisters from Asda's or Amazon or wherever, that they're half helium, half air. The balloons never float as long and you never get as many balloons out of them as possible. But do shop around on price with the wholesalers for your helium, and don't compromise on quality. Just going back to higher supply costs, there's also obviously the thing around overheads as well. So if you have a shop in the middle of a city centre and your rent and rates are high, and therefore you've had to increase, the amount that you put on your prices for those overheads, that can have an impact on your pricing too. But that comes down to a business decision where you want to locate your business, whether you're better working from a shop on the high street, whether you're better having a retail outlet that's slightly out of town, or whether you're better to go for more of a not a retail outlet but a business outlet where people rent like lockups and workshops, or working from home. But there are pros and cons to all of them, but it will impact as to why your pricing might be higher than what other people are telling you they charge for theirs, or what you see your competitors charging for. The second reason is overestimating time. Quite often we overestimate or underestimate time that it takes to create something. You may well be overestimating the time it's actually going to take, because at the beginning it takes you an awful lot longer. And then other people who are charging locally may be underestimating their time, or they may not have increased their charge for their time as they've got quicker at doing it. So if you've never worked out how long a design is going to take, you can do one of two things. You can either do a mock-up, and certainly if you're coming up with new designs for your business to grow your portfolio, or perhaps it's Mother's Day or Easter, I encourage you to look at the clock before you start and look at the clock when you finish, so that you get accurate at timing yourself. If you're going to do a design where you can't really mock it up, and some of the big designs that I've done in the past, I've had to really struggle to think about how long it's going to take. So I tend to break it down to elements. So for example, if I've got to do a big balloon wall, and I know that probably equates to about the same as doing 6 columns, because it's going to be 6 columns wide and about 6 columns tall, then I know roughly how long it takes me to make 1 column. So I can easily times it by 6. You do need to add on a little wee bit of time, because what I find is when you do big work, you get a bit more tired as you get on through the design. You don't get faster as you build a big design, you get a bit slower. So what time it takes me to whack up 1 column, by the time on my 6th column, I won't be as quick. But it gives you a rough idea. If you're going to build a design that you've never done before, and you don't want to, or you can't have a go at timing it first, how to then break it down. As I said to you in the previous video, when we looked at how you calculate your prices, you should be charging an hourly rate at a minimum of £15 an hour. Once you get more skilled and faster, then you should be looking at around £20 to £25 an hour, because obviously if you can make something at the beginning in 30 minutes and in a year's time you can do it in 10 minutes, if you're still charging £15 an hour, you've reduced your income massively. And all right, you can make more orders, etc., but you shouldn't be devaluing the original item and the amount of time it took. And the big reason often, and this is what everyone's moaning about at the moment, I'm aware, is that competition pricing. And to be honest, it is something that's recently reared its head a lot because of the pandemic, the amount of new people coming into the industry because their own industries they've not been able to trade. But it's something that's been around for a long, long time because we've always competed with the likes of Clinton's, Card Factory, Morrison's, Asda's, etc. B&M's is another one. They do ever such cheap balloons. And the thing with retail outlets on the size of Morrison's, B&M's, etc., is they have purchasing power. They can agree to a contract with the manufacturers for a massive order of balloons, far beyond. You know, we do our weekly orders, and they might seem a huge value to us. But Morrison's and those type outlets will, you know, they'll sign off £100,000 order for balloons, and because they've got a warehouse where they can store it all, and then from there they will distribute it out to their shops. And when you have that level of buying power, it drives down the unit price. Manufacturers will sell to them happily because that is, you know, a huge volume out the door. They haven't got to worry about all the logistics of sorting out lots of little orders and deliveries and couriers and lorries and freight and all the rest of it, so they can pass that cost on when people purchase on volume. And now we're never going to be able to do that, and as such we do get a trade discount, but it's not going to compete in that level. And unfortunately, when we start out in business, the majority of us, and I have to put my hands up because I started at this place, have no idea how to run a business, price for a profit or anything. So the market is quite saturated at the moment with new people who are trying to find their way. And the majority of them do not want to undercut. That's not what it's about. We're going to talk in the next video about some of the whole mindset and the mind monkeys around pricing. But most people, you know, at the end of the day, we all go into running a business because we want to make money. We want to have the lifestyle that's associated to it, and we want to give that lifestyle to our loved ones. So what I will say when it comes to competition pricing is it will never go away, because even if every single person that's new to the industry or that's old to the industry charges for profit, we're still always going to compete with the likes of Morrison's and, you know, the big franchise businesses and high street business. I'm not talking about your independents on the high street, because most independent card shops and balloon shops on the high street are no different to you and I. In fact, you know, they've probably got bigger overheads than the majority of us, but it's actually more difficult for them. I'm talking about, you know, your big monster chains of shops. So you've got to just take that on the chin and look for the solution. And the solution is that you should never compete on price. So you're not going to compete with the likes of Morrison's, etc. You're also not going to compete if you get a new business pop up in your area and they're charging way too low. And you know it's way too low. Everyone around knows it's way too low. The only person that probably doesn't know it's way too low is the person charging the price. So what do? Because if you just reduce your prices, they'll reduce theirs, and they will very quickly work out it's not a sustainable business, and you will have lost your business. The only thing you can do is to differentiate, and this is where it's really, really important. If you are just doing what I call inflate and go balloons, so you've got your helium tank and you're inflating helium balloons and selling them to customers, you are going to struggle to survive in the marketplace, because someone will always be able to do that cheaper. What you've got to do is develop your skills and your portfolio and come up with designs that the others are not providing, because people will pay more for that, but they're not going to pay more for something they can get cheaper down the road. The other thing that you need to do is you need to differentiate your business and make sure in your social media, on your website, etc., that you are putting it out there, that you are a bona fide business, you're insured, you're trained, and that's the difference between yourself and perhaps a new person that's literally this week started to put a few balloons on Facebook. So when it comes to differentiating, what can you do? Well, there's all sorts of things you can do. I do encourage everyone to have a little go at twisting, because when you add modeling balloons and twisted elements to your design, that very quickly differentiates you. But what I actually encourage most people to do is stop looking around at what everyone else is doing and come up with something unique to you. Because I see an awful lot of people wasting precious time and energy worrying and stressing about the fact that the competition, you know, they oh my God, have you seen they're only charging this? And you get yourself all het up and, you know, you're moaning to anybody that will listen, and you can waste so much precious time being negative, feeling flat, feeling overwhelmed. Is it all worth it? When actually what you should have been doing is coming up with a new design that nobody else makes and looking at ways that you can network with other businesses to grow your business. Do not waste your precious time worrying about what the competition is doing. I can honestly say I have no idea what the competition, I mean, I hate the word competition because actually the majority of our balloon businesses in my area I don't see as competition, and you know, I get on well with you know, I have a very good relationship with many of them. So competition sounds like a bit of a horrible word, but it's what we use, I suppose. But I don't know. Well, I don't go on their Facebook pages. Sometimes the odd thing will pop up in my news feed. Sometimes my other half will show me something someone else has done. Usually say, oh my God, look what they're charging for that. But I ask them not to, because you can very quickly spiral into this negative mindset, and negative mindset does not grow your business. So I spend my time eyes forward, working on my goals and objectives. I'm very focused on my business plan. I know exactly how much revenue I'm going to make down to the last pound. And I also know exactly how I'm going to get it. And that's where I focus. I've also built my business based on the fact that I am different. And I will come up with new designs first, and the competition will follow. And people will copy you. So when I come up with something new, other people will try and come up with their version. But ultimately, if you're always leading the way, what you'll find is that customers will be drawn to you, because everyone is amazed by what you can do when you're different. And yeah, you're all right, you're a bit more expensive, but if you can't get it nowhere else and you are prepared to pay, and there are lots of customers that are prepared to pay that bit more for something different, then they're going to come to you regardless of the price. I will do another video, and we're going to look at some things around mindset, and we're going to look at things like, will they think I'm too expensive? Will I lose customers by putting my prices up? We're going to look at, what if my overheads are low, so i.e. I'm home-based rather than I'm shop-based. And there was one more that we're going to cover in that as well. So we're going to look at those things specifically, because I've encountered all of those things. And what I will say to you is, when I first started out in business and I was charging prices way too low, I had huge issues in my mind about money and pricing. These little voices in my head saying, oh, you know, like, am I good enough? Will people really pay that? So I know how you feel, because I've been there. But you cannot compete on pricing. And the one thing that I had to get my head around is I had to work on my mindset, and I had to understand that to create a sustainable business, profit is essential. Because ultimately, there's only so many hours in a day and a week. There's only so many balloons that you can make yourself in your business during that time. So you reach a scaling point. And now when you reach that scaling point for growing your business, you will either have to be able to charge more, or you have to take on staff to enable you to be able to create more. And whichever way you do it, you will not be able to grow and scale and take on more if you're not prepared to get the basics right. And pricing for profit is a basic element of running a business and for creating a sustainable business, because otherwise you will get burnt out. You will get to the same as I did at about 12 months and think, my God, I'm knackered, I'm fed up. Who thought it was a good idea to start my own balloon business? Because I'm putting all this hard work in, and when I look at my bank balance, wow, like, is it worth it? And ultimately, you know, like, you go into business to create a better life for you. So if you're not creating more money than you would for doing the equivalent hours in a 9-to-5 job, how are you creating a better life? Because a 9-to-5 job pays you sick pay, you get a pension, you get annual leave, you get lots and lots of perks and stability. You know you're going to get the same, you know, same paycheck every month that's going to pay the bills. So when you're running your own business, you have got to get the fundamentals right. And you know, one of the main reasons for setting up the Balloon Biz Academy in the first place was because I saw so many businesses fold at about 12 to 18 months. And the main reason wasn't the fact that they weren't good at making balloons, wasn't even the fact that people didn't want to buy their balloons, because actually there was some real talent that we've lost along the way. It was because they didn't get to grips with the fundamentals of their business, and many times they weren't pricing properly. There are other reasons like marketing, etc. But, you know, lots of people, when they come into the balloon industry, run around going on every course, you know, excited by the creative process, just hoping the business side of it will sort itself out. And actually, to run a business, you have to spend as much time learning to run a business as you do learning to make balloons. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to talk through, because I know when you do your pricing, the very next thing that comes up is, oh my God, that price seems so high. Why is it more than anybody else's? So I wanted to cover that off straight away, really, because pricing can cause a lot of anxiety. And if you feel like my advice is creating all these high prices, you're probably not then going to stick with it. But keep going with these videos. I've got 2 more to come, and they will help you definitely get to grips with any of your issues you've got around pricing. So I'll see you in video 3 of Pricing for Profit. Bye for now.